you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Well, as you said, my name is Gigi. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm in my 30s.
It's good. Good times. Good times.
Yes, I like to think so.
All right. Okay. So, what do you do for work? Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I am an eligibility analyst for Cigna HealthSpring. So basically, what I do, it is a health insurance company. So what I do is look over members' records or customers' records, and my job is to see if they are showing other health insurance. Well, it used to be that I would call and verify if it's still active or if it's turned or if they ever had it or whatnot, just to update the member's records, basically to show either Cigna HealthSpring is secondary for that member or is the primary insurance. That is what I used to do. I still somewhat do that, however, because now that I'm an analyst, I oversee others doing that and I check their work, I audit their work to make sure that they are following the guidelines of the job aids that have been put in place to process these types of records. In a nutshell.
How did you get to, I guess, maybe this position, or how did you get there?
Well, I started, my company was bought, or the company was bought a few times. So when I first started out as a temp, actually, it was called Bravo Health. Before that, it was called Elder Health. Then Bravo bought it and it became Bravo Health. And I started out as an enrollment specialist. So we would receive the applications from the members wanting our insurance, and I would process it accordingly. So basically like your data entry type of thing.
Right.
And from there, I believe HealthSpring acquired us. They are a company in Tennessee. They're base companies in Tennessee.
Yeah.
They bought us, and so they decided that they were going to actually move the enrollment department to Tennessee. Because again, the company, like I said, I'm from Baltimore, so where I'm working at is in Baltimore. They wanted to move that department to Tennessee, so because of that, I was moved to the reconciliation department, which basically in itself reconciles any records that may be incorrect or need updating of some sort. So I joined the MAPD, which is Medicare Advantage and Part D, or prescription drug department. So that's a very complex department where like you're looking at not just the medical side, but the prescription side, seeing if everything's adding up, if they have the right contracts.
Right.
And things of that nature. And so I was doing a lot of reporting. I would receive a lot of reporting and I would process those reports, like your daily, your weekly, and your monthly reports. Basically, what would happen is and we still do, we would receive reports from the Certified Medicare and Medicaid Services Department, which is CMS, which is like the FCC for healthcare. We have to follow their guidelines. They have the authority. We follow them. And what happens is if we don't fit the description or if we're not up to compliance, they can shut us down or at least put us on probation, sanction us.
Right.
So they have guidelines for us to follow, and then they send us reports basically saying like, hey, this member is showing this, can you verify? Or this member has this, and you need to update it. Or this member like has hospice or had hospice for a period of time. They were in hospice, I should say, for a period of time. So they're basically sending us reports saying like, this is what we're showing. We need you to verify, update the records, to be current. And so that's what I was doing on the MAPD side. And then I was moved to the PDP side, which is prescription drug plan. It's just prescription drugs. So it's like it was cool, but it was crazy too, because when you come from a department like MAPD, it's extremely complex. You're dealing with, like I said, medical and prescription drugs. So it's just like a lot. It was cool, but it was like a lot of work.
Right.
And then you go to the PDP side, and it's like 80% less than what you were doing, because again, you're just dealing with the drug side. You're not doing anything else. So it's not as complex. You don't have to think about the medical or anything that comes with that. You're just dealing with drugs. So it's just like, so it's like I was dealing with applications for people who just want the prescription drug side. They just want the prescription drug. They don't need the medical part. They just want it to get their prescriptions and things of that
Okay.
nature.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like different for me. It was cool again because it was something new, but it was kind of hard coming from that department, the MAPD, and having to do all this, and then going to the PDP and not having to do like 80% of it.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange, but cool. And then from there, uh, we were bought again
Mm-hmm.
by Cigna now. So now it's Cigna Health Branch.
Yeah.
And so with that, they wanted us, or we were slowly starting an MSP COB, which is Medicare Secondary Payer Coordination of Benefits Department.
Mm-hmm.
And because they saw that we did a really good job with that, they wanted us to actually build a department. So I was moved to that department because I was already doing that, so to speak, on the side. Like I was doing my PDP work, but then I was also doing this MSP COB work, which also deals with prescription drug, and that takes you on the other side as far as other health insurance. Like that's the whole thing. The other health insurance is the MSP, so that's the Medicare Secondary Payer. So it's like, are we secondary or is Blue Cross Blue Shield secondary? This is where we go and look it up, and then we go into CMS's systems and actually submit through them like, okay, this termed or this is still active or this never happened.
Right.
So we need you to update your records so everything fits.
Okay.
So we were slowly doing that, and so they saw that we were doing pretty well with that. They brought that department to us, and so I was moved to that department, and that's where I've been. That was back in 2012. So I started with Bravo as a temp in 2008, and then I was hired about 2010. Then we were bought. It was a crazy time. We were bought twice. So like we were bought in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
The first of 2011. Well, we were bought at the end of 2010. So come 2011, we became HealthSpring.
Right.
2012, we became Cigna.
Oh wow.
So it was just
I
like
didn't realize it had been that long.
it's been long, but it's also been a trying process because even though change is good in this type of industry, it's kind of like I used to call like it must be a sale going on because it's like around the springtime. It seems like everybody is buying companies and overseeing companies and things of that nature. So it's like we were just bought with HealthSpring in 2011. When another company buys you, if they already have certain departments, they don't need 2 or 3.
Right.
So that means layoffs,
Right.
unfortunately. So when HealthSpring bought us, there were layoffs. So because of that, I was fortunately able to be moved to another department. And so the dust hadn't even really settled yet, and then we were bought again.
Right.
And so it was like we were on edge again, and then that's when the MSP COB department was being built, so I was moved to that department.
Yeah. Sounds challenging.
Yeah, it's very challenging. So, and it's scary because it's like, this is your livelihood and you don't know if you're going to be here come the end of the year because, we've been bought and they don't need 2 MAPD departments or 2 reconciliation departments. It's the same. And of course they always say, but they start from the high up. Like you don't need 2 presidents. You don't need 2 vice presidents.
Right.
But then it still trickles down where it's like, we don't need all these people in customer service. We don't need all these people in IT. So it's very nerve-wracking because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you just hope for the best. Luckily, I've been blessed to be able to just keep moving from department to department. I haven't really had to deal with, looking for other work. But in a nutshell, that is what I do now. So like I was a specialist, and then I eventually became, I want to say, this is 2017. Probably 2015, I was promoted as an analyst. So as a specialist, I was making the calls and I was processing the work. Now as an analyst, it's like you're distributing the reports that your manager sends you and she needs done. You distribute it to those specialists. You will receive their work, you audit their work, you make sure they're doing it correctly. If you have to, do a retraining, either side chair or do a class training session. And in some cases, create job aids for whatever process. So I had to create a job aid processing MSPCOB with LEP. LEP is late enrollment penalties.
Okay.
So people with late enrollment penalties, it's kind of the same thing. So like if you have an LEP, but you had other health insurance, that health insurance probably was paying that, or you basically were always covered, so you shouldn't
Right.
have the LEP.
Right.
And I also deal with like PACE, which is pharmacy. It's like a pharmacy supplement, so it pays for prescription drugs. And I deal with Pennsylvania. That is the largest. I don't want to say state, but it's the largest in that state. So,
Okay.
because there's Maryland, Delaware, they're smaller, and then there's Pennsylvania. So, me and another young lady, she oversees a lot of the work, and I assist her with that work.
Okay.
And so, anyone who has PACE or anything of that nature, we apply to their record because that lets us know either their premiums are being paid. It pays for their premiums. So it's like either if they have it, then we need to update their records to show that they have it so that they're not paying their premiums if they have to be reimbursed. It can be sent to claims to let them know, okay, we need to reimburse this member because they've had this for this period of time that's still active, so they should not be paying any premiums,
Right.
or so forth.
Okay.
And that is what I do now.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like you went through quite a lot to get to where you are, but you got a lot of experience through that, which really kind of prepared you to be maybe invaluable to where you didn't get let go when could have been that chance. And so, based on that, where do you think you might be in terms of your career in like 10 years or so?
Well, right now, I am talking. They have Cigna has a career coaching department, and so you reach out to them and tell them you want to have a talk about seeing what other options are out there for you. If you feel like you're ready to try to branch out, do something within that company, or maybe not.
Okay.
So in this case, I recently talked with a career coach, Lauren. She's really sweet. We talked about her background and mine, and as I was telling her my background, not just with Cigna Health Spring, but before that, as you know, I was a resident assistant, and so I did programs and things of that nature, and I just helped maintain dorms, whatever dorm I was in, and then even after that, I got my certificate in Broadcasting Institute of Maryland, where I did internships at TV stations, not just here in Baltimore, but also in Salisbury when I was studying at UMES. So I was giving her that background, and she immediately said, "You need to be in the communications department," which I never really quite thought of because I just figured I'm studying all this media. I'm thinking I need to be in like TV, but that's not necessarily the case. I can do communications with the company that I'm in. So she's thinking she's starting to help me try to network with people in that area. They may not have a position open there, but I can at least get my foot in the door, talk to people, learn what they do, how they got there, what advice they have for me, because she really feels like that is where I actually need to be. Because right now it's Cigna Health Spring and it's Cigna. Cigna Health Spring is the Medicaid side.
Okay.
And Cigna it's the Medicare Medicaid side, and Cigna is the commercial side.
Okay.
And so it's a much larger brand. It's much larger, and they have a lot more options for people.
Right. Okay.
And so she was just talking to me, and she's coaching me through that, just basically trying to get more information and just guide me in the right direction, like where I should be going now. So to answer your question, I guess, to where I would like to see myself in 10 years, I wouldn't mind still being with Cigna, but I would like to be somewhere else, maybe working in the communications department, because I feel like that is my actual place. Like I need to be in that type of field.
Okay.
Now. Like I know the medical prescription drug, and not to say that it isn't a great experience, but I feel like I need to be where I basically majored in. I majored in communications.
Right.
Pretty much my whole life. Like I write, I'm always talking to people once I get to know them. But still, but it's like I like that aspect of being able to network and meet new people and just create. Like I feel like with communications, you're always going to be asked to create new things. no matter what it is, like maybe a job aid or like a whole new direction plan for a department or whatever the case may be. So I feel like I should look more into that.
Okay. What do you think your industry will look like in 10 years or so, like by that time? Like what kind of changes do you see that?
Well, not quite sure given where we are politically, because, and I say politically because a lot of the stuff that takes place first actually starts at the White House when President Obama was in the White House and he came up with Obamacare. It's like, yeah, that helped a lot of people. That helped us as far as business because it kind of shifted the way we did things. Because in a sense, it's like it made it cheaper for those who really can't afford health care to afford it for them and their family. And so even though it didn't hurt us, it just we kind of like just switched the way we did things.
Right.
So with President Trump, not sure yet how that's going to go. You're always going to need, which is good and maybe not good all the time, but it's one of those things where like doctors and nurses are always going to be in demand no matter what. You're always going to need health insurance. It's just always going to be. But it's just, it all actually does start from the White House. Like whatever changes they start to make to healthcare, it's like we got to like shift our gears. So to say, on one hand, I believe it's still going to be here. The makeup of it all, I'm not sure.
Right.
Because it just depends on who's chief in command.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense. So I guess to shift a little bit, who helped you? So in undergrad, you went to UMS. We talked about that.
Yep.
And can you tell us a little bit about what you said you majored in communications?
Well, I majored in English non-teaching because I felt like I was not going to be a teacher, but I liked the English language and I'm always correcting people. And so I felt like, oh, this is me. So
Okay.
I did that and I minored in telecommunications. And so that was cool. And then a few years after I graduated and I started while I was working, when it was Bravo, while I was working there, I went to the Broadcasting Institute of Maryland and got a certificate in broadcasting writing for TV news.
Okay.
So, but in UMS, it's like a lot of writing, screenplay writing, which I absolutely love to do, and just learning the proper technique.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, unfortunately, people, because of texting, you do a lot of shorthand, and especially with younger kids, teenagers, they attribute that to writing a paper, and that's not the same thing. And so it's like I am happy that I did choose this major because at first I was kind of regretting it because I felt like this is not taking me anywhere. But at the same time, personally, it helped me because it's like it taught me that I need to make sure I understand the difference between texting you and writing a paper or writing an email to my boss. It's not the same technique. It's not the same format. It's not the same tone. I'm texting you. You are my friend. You know what I'm saying when I just say BRB. I can't say that to my manager. You know what I mean? Like you can't say things like that. It's like there's a way to go about it. So I am glad I took that major because it helped me differentiate and just basically taught me how the proper channels of writing.
Excellent. So who helped you make career decisions when you were in high school?
No one really. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I think because for so many years, and I mean before high school, I wanted to be an eye doctor just because. And then it was just like, no, I didn't want to do that anymore. So I think when I went to high school, I knew I wanted to do something in writing and arts because I just liked writing. My favorite classes were my art class, my music class. That's why in college I did gospel and choir and classical choir or gospel and classical singing because I took that. I've always sang since I was a kid. So it's like that's what I do. But I also like to write. So like anytime we had to do essays or things of that nature, short stories, art, I just like drawing or doing things. I'm like just all in the arts.
Yeah.
And anything about that.
Yeah. So was there anybody who like encouraged you and maybe your love of writing and arts and creating?
It's kind of weird. High school, no. In high school, I was encouraged to, believe it or not, stay in the sciences.
Mm.
But I didn't because I just felt like that wasn't my thing neither. I mean, I was fascinated. I'm always fascinated with science, but it's like I didn't want that to be my thing. That wasn't going to be me. But it was crazy. I was actually encouraged to stay in the sciences. In middle school is actually where I was encouraged to keep writing because I was writing short stories. I started really writing in fifth grade because I had this book. It was a gossip book, and I wrote about everybody in my class. Like each person in my class, I had something about all of them, and it was crazy because a couple of girls they actually hated me because they didn't. They just hated. I don't know if they didn't like what I wrote or whatever, but it was like they didn't. They hated me for so long. So my teacher, I knew what she was doing. So she had this like project that we all had to be in groups. So she made them partner up with me, and that's how we got to know each other a little better. Then they saw, they understood what I was doing. They're like, oh, okay. So it's like that everybody was cool, but it was like it's actually in fifth grade when I actually started writing, and I kept writing. And I remember, like in sixth or seventh grade, I was writing this story, and everybody kept telling my teacher that they're like, "Have Gigi read it instead of us doing this today. Have Gigi read the story."
Right.
And they all liked it. So I always wrote short stories.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was like more so encouraged in middle school. In high school, I was encouraged to do sciences. So it's just like, whatever.
Okay. So did you guys have like guidance counselors when you were in high school, like for like applying to college and stuff like that, or how did you know to do that, or pick schools and things?
It's kind of crazy. I went to UMES because I wanted to have the same experience my sister had. My sister graduated from UMES.
Oh, okay.
With her bachelor's and her master's, and her husband graduated from UMS with his bachelor's and master's, both in law. So I guess I was just like, I just wanted to have that same experience that she had. But crazy enough, which every so often I think about what would have happened if before I even went to UMS, I got a partial scholarship to the Culinary Arts School downtown. So, but I just didn't think I would want to do that, but now I'm kind of wondering what happened. I wonder what would have happened because I am a foodie. You know, I'm a foodie. Like I just love food. So it's just like, and every time I watch like the cooking shows and things, I kind of like wonder in the back of my mind, like, what would have happened if I did this? But then also, you don't necessarily have to go to a culinary arts school because you see these people on these Food Network shows. And a lot of them didn't actually go to a school.
Right.
They might have just went and trained under somebody.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to a school. And some people, they started out just by cooking in the kitchen with their grandparents, whomever, and they just opened up their business and they just expanded that way.
Yeah.
So you never know. But that's actually how that came to be. I went because of my sister, but I actually could have went to a culinary arts school. So I just had to really it's always just something different for me now.
Something about creating.
Yeah.
That's important. So I guess with that said, talking about things you enjoy, shift to kind of thinking like, what is your home life like? What's it like for you when you're at home not working?
It's pretty simple. I live at home with my parents. My parents are Caribbean, so my dad is Haitian, and my mom is from Martinique, and their whole thing is with a lot of not just Caribbean. I think it's just people outside of the U.S. Their family, the way they raise their family is very different than the way most Americans do. Like most Americans, for the most part, you should be out on your own by the time you're 18.
Right.
With people outside of the U.S., especially with daughters, you're not leaving until you're married. So I'm not married, so I'm still at home, and it's like, and there's no rush, especially now with the economy being the way it is and very shaky, and it's just too expensive to live on your own. It's just like, and my parents being older, needing more help, so it's like it actually works out too. But it's like we're not forced to. It's not like something that's forced upon us to move out at a certain age. they do expect you to work. Like my parents were very, if anything, as far as motivation, they are very big. As a lot of people coming from the islands or coming from a different country coming to the U.S., they're very big on education. So they made sure we went all the way to college, graduated, and then after that, it was just work,
Right.
you know. And I've actually been working since I was 13 because I was tired of asking my parents for money if I wanted something. Like I actually was getting money before that, and I always tell people they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, my dad, this is what my dad did. It's like I finally came to the conclusion. I was like, instead of asking for money all the time, why not propose uh, an agreement or thing like where make a proposal where it's like I'll do work around the house and you just pay me. And so he's like, fine, he paid me $1 every week.
A
Just
dollar.
$1. So, but it taught me how to save too, because if I really wanted something, I saved that dollar, and it was great. And mind you, it's not like I was born in the '60s. These are the '90s. I'm an '80s baby, if that kind of helps. I'm an '80s baby. These are the '90s or whatever. And he's giving me $1, but it just that motivated me. Like I wanted to work. I mainly because I didn't want to have to be asking my parents. Like it's my money to do what I want. Because to ask your parents, they do have the right. Some people don't think so, but you're asking me for money, so I have the right to ask you what you need it for. What do you want? I mean, you're asking me. I'm asking you. What do you want it for? So how my train of thought was, well, if I have my own job, I'm not asking anybody, so I don't need to explain myself.
Okay.
So that's one of that was our motivation for us. It's like they made us. We went to school, graduated, and it was just work, like work. And then so as long as you're working, it's like we're not. Granted, I do live at home, and it does help in a sense as far as like bills and things. Like it's me and my brother because my sister's married, but again, she lived with us pretty much until she got married. Like she did live on her own for a while, and I've experienced living on my own for a while, but and ultimately, she came back home because the economy was changing. It was becoming too expensive.
Right.
She stayed home, and she was still with her boyfriend, who she met in college, and then he proposed, and then basically, she moved out right after they got married because during the process of them getting married, they found a place. So right after she got married, she was able to just and come back from honeymoon. She was able to just move into that place. So, and that's basically how our parents raised us to do it that way. It's like, in a sense, like you're not leaving until you are married.
Right.
Because it's like, what's the point? What do you need to be living by yourself? Like, just whatever. I don't know. And to save money. So, that was basically our motivation as far as that goes. Like, just staying in school, learning, and just working hard and saving your money. And then, no one can take that away from you, type of thing. They can't take that away.
It sounds like you get a lot of strong values from your parents.
Yes.
So what kind of things do you do on the weekends?
Homeless on the weekends. Well, I'm kind of like laid back unless my parents see me to take them somewhere. Like we were chit chatting earlier, and it's like I took my dad to the store yesterday, ran around with him. Every other weekend or so, because me and my brother, and once in a blue moon, my sister shifts. So this is what happens. Before I started driving, before I got a car, it was my sister and my brother that basically alternated between taking my mom grocery shopping or my dad or whatever. As soon as I got a car and I got comfortable enough to be driving around, it was my turn. So now it's me and my brother that takes my sister, and every so often my sister will take my parents wherever they need to go. Like my mom, she goes shopping every week, but it's a different place. So like, and she has her, I don't know, she just has her, what do you call it? She'd rather me take her to like ShopRite.
Okay, her preferences.
Her preferences. So I'll take her to ShopRite or whatever. And then the next weekend when she has to get the bigger stuff, like the bulk stuff, she'll go to like Sam's or whatever.
Okay.
She'll have my brother take her there.
Yeah,
so it's like we alternate. And with my dad, we just started alternating because last year I was using my PCO to take him to his doctor's appointments. And I found that is just not going to work. Like, I still want to do me. Sometimes, even if that means doing absolutely nothing, I want to be using that for me and not for my dad. So I had this talk with my sister and my brother, and it's like now we're all doing it. Like, we all alternate. My sister and my brother, I look to see is they have more flex in their job than I do. So it's like you can definitely do it quicker than I can. But there are some cases where like I don't mind doing it, but I cannot be the only one.
Right.
So basically, that's what we do. We alternate. So like this weekend, my sister took my mom because she was coming over. She hung out this weekend with us. So she took her shopping, but I took her to the hairdresser. Then I took my dad shopping. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If not, I'm hanging out with like friends or whatever, like with you today. And occasionally, if I can, I see my godchildren. I have three god boys, godsons, who live around the corner. So I try to visit them, catch up on their life, especially the baby, because there's the baby. Then there's my middle one who's 12, and then there's my oldest one who's 18. So I try to keep up with them, see if they're good, make sure they're good. If the mom needs something, I say the mom because it's not their mom that's raising them, it's their aunt who's been raising them. And when I say three godsons, it's three godsons, but the baby is my eldest's son. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but he asked, and his girlfriend asked me to be his godmother. So it's like I have three boys, and it's kind of funny how it works that way on a side note because as a kid, all I kept saying, I remember me and my best friend was like, if I have kids, I just want boys. I just want boys. I'm not sure if that's going to happen as far as having boys the natural way or whatever. I mean, whatever God wants, it's fine. It's not really a hit or miss for me, but I feel like I'm getting it indirectly because I have three boys already.
Yeah.
So if I get 7 more, that'll be crazy. But it's cool with the three. So, you know. But that's pretty much what I do. Like, I hang out. I try to meet up with them. I go to the gym. I try to do that. I go to this kickboxing place called 9 Rounds, so I try to do that because I found that kickboxing works for me, works your whole body. Before that, I was doing the merit, but it was just like I was just getting on like a treadmill or something, and I wasn't really getting the workout I think I needed. So I do that, and I go to church. I go to the Basilica downtown, and I'm in the choir there. So they're all trained. They're almost 90% of them come from Peabody. So they're all trained. So it's kind of nice to kind of keep that going because, like I said, in college I was in the gospel and the classical choirs. I wouldn't recommend that voice wise, but I was just doing whatever, and I like to sing a lot. And I wanted to learn gospel. So especially going to a historically black school and a lot of people coming from that background, I wanted to learn gospel. So it's like I want to be in this, but I also wanted to maintain that trained classical voice as well. So I was doing that, and so being at the Basilica here, it puts me back in that perspective because they're all trained, or they're they either teach or they sing. They all sing professionally, and so I like to kind of keep that going as far as that goes, and just always meeting new people. They're always cool people, always cool students, and they're so fun to be around. So
yeah, you have a pretty full life outside of work, doing quite a few things, whether it's like family and friends or leisure activities for yourself. Are there any things you want to be doing more on the weekends that maybe you don't get to do enough of, or at all?
Well, just in general, travel, and we talked about that too. Because in my mind, I don't think I ever told you, but I was telling my hairdresser yesterday. In my mind, when I always thought of traveling, you had to be in this particular place for at least a week. But then when I spoke to you about the whole idea of traveling, like a few months back, you were like, Gigi, you don't have to be at a place for a week. You can do like a weekend thing. It's not that serious. And I never looked at it like that. I know it's like kind of small, but I never looked at it like that. And especially traveling, especially just for a couple days, it really isn't that expensive. So it's like I would like to be traveling more. To be honest, I mean, even if it's just a weekend, like even if it's just like I go to New York a lot. Like I have family in New York, so I'm over parts of New York. Like I would like to go to like upstate New York maybe or things like that. But I'm over parts of New York because I have family there. When we go there, it's like so it's like it's a cool place, but I'm kind of over it. And so I would like to go back to Canada. I have people in Quebec, but I would like to go to other places in Canada because it's just like I can go there, see them, and then we can drive because it'll just be like 2 or 3 hours, whichever way. So it's like, but traveling in general. Like I think the last time I actually went out, I went to California, and I was probably the only person in my family that's gone to California. Let's go to the West Coast, and I loved it. It was kind of cool because it was the one place I kept saying, I want to go to San Francisco. I want to go to San Francisco. If I don't do anything else, I want to go to San Francisco.
Right.
And it actually happened, and it was so cool, and I want to go back there again, but I also want to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Because, like I was telling you, I want to see where my mom lived with her aunt when she was living in France. I would probably like to visit Martinique too, because that is where she was born and raised.
Right.
My dad comes from Haiti, not a very stable area, so probably wouldn't go there. But just like Europe and like Ireland, plan on going to Ireland. I just have to go there.
So there's
So,
quite a few things that you want to be.
yeah, so, like, that's where I would like to be going as far as like, and more through the weekends, just like doing something like crazy, like just driving somewhere, like driving. I've never been to any of the Carolinas.
Well, that's kind of a quicker trip.
Yeah, so something like when you say like doing on weekends, like that would be something I would probably do. Like go somewhere that's like close by that I've never been to, because it's like I've been to Philly once, and that was with you. Right. That's the only understanding, and that was for like a night. I think I was like for a night. So like we need to do that again. But like like I've never been, like I've been past Jersey, but I've never been in Jersey. Like I've been to Delaware a lot because of my late godmother. She had friends in Delaware, but I've never really seen Pennsylvania. Never really like actually been in the state to like experience it. I was talking to my sister. I'm like, we need to go to Boston because it's pretty.
I tell you all the time.
It's really cool, and because it's so funny. And I was telling you, but it's kind of funny. My sister and my brother, they both were born and raised in New York. We have the same parents. My parents, they then moved to Baltimore, and I'm the only one coming from Baltimore. I don't know where it comes from, but my sister has this like weird Boston accent, even though she's from New York. Like it's like she just started suddenly like picking up this accent. I don't know if she was around people for a period of time or what, or her watching certain shows. I don't know, but it's like that's part of the reason. Also, why we want to go, so she can be like among her people. It's weird. It's like cute. We're weird like that, but it's like I just want to go there because I know it's like super pretty, and I like to be like the tourist. I like to see tourism types and visit museums. I've never been to Chicago. She's been to Chicago. I've never been there. It's like my brother's been to Colorado. I would like to go to Colorado. I would like to go to certain places during the summer though, because Chicago is not a place I want to go in the winter. Colorado is not a place I want to go in the winter. But it's like I would like to go to these places, or like Seattle.
Yeah.
Like especially when I see places like on watching movies and stuff, I'm like, oh, I want to go there and go to this place. Like when I went to San Francisco, I didn't even think it was going to happen. But we actually went to the street where Full House was hit. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I got to see Lombard Street, which is awesome. So, because it's one of those famous areas right there with the zigzag and craziness. But it's like, I would like to do something like that on weekend. Like, just go to, like, a state and just visit the state. Even, like, nearby, like I said, the Carolinas, or, like, I have been to Nashville. I would like to go back there. I went to high school. And I loved it. That's where my love of country music really, like, set in. It was because that's all they played. I didn't realize it, but that's all they really play in Nashville. And I kind of get it, but it's like, wow. So it's like, you either really love it or you truly hate it. And I loved it. Like, it gave me a new perspective. So, like, and that's another thing with music. It's like I'm being raised in listening to different types of music. Like I don't have no one particular genre. Like some people are like, I'm hip hop or I'm Afrocentric or whatever. It's like I like all types because of how I was raised. It's like my mom, she played old school. Didn't realize it was old school until I got older. I was like, Mom used to play this all the time, and didn't realize this was it. So it was that, and like I love R&B, I like rap, but I like pop, I like classical. Like people kind of fall back when I say that because they're like, you don't take me as a son. I love classical and I love musicals. Sound of Music, favorite. So
Sounds
that's
like you have a
awesome.
strong love of music.
Yes, I
Yeah.
used to play the piano. I'm trying to get back into that too.
Okay,
Like
that's
I
wonderful.
love all things music except heavy metal. I just can't grasp it. So yeah. Hi, sweetie. That's what I'm talking about. You're learning how to hug. That's JoJo. That's my middle guy child.
Okay, all right.
So
So he really does live around the corner because he just walked over here.
he
Just watched
really
it.
does.
Okay.
I told him because every time I hug him, like, okay, you don't know how to hug. You need to hug me. And so he's learning to hug me because you know how I am. I give those real hugs, like great to see you. I'm glad you're still alive. Not those like Hollywood pat on your back, partial, like not
I
serious.
got you.
I'm a hugger. Once you get to know me, I'm a hugger. So
I'll tell you, I am aware of this.
yes.
So to shift a little bit again, did you expect to be like where you are now in your life, and you can kind of broaden that to mean anything and talk about whatever you want?
No, because I would see these things on TV, like people in office buildings working in cubicles. I'm like, oh, I am so not doing that. I am so doing that right now. Like I am working in a cubicle. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I said I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because I used to say it about working in fast food. I said, oh, you will never see me work in fast food. I got my place. I was still in college and I moved in with three people and I needed a job.
Yeah.
So guess where I was working at the Hardee's in the drive-through. And Hardee's is different than McDonald's or Burger King because, and I think some people didn't understand that, which will piss me off sometimes. It's made to order,
Oh, wow.
so it's not going to be ready as soon as you get to a window. You have to wait. He's like, what's taking so long? It's made to order. So we start cooking as you tell us. We're not like McDonald's or Burger King where some things are already prepped because you already know I'm getting a waffle or I'm getting a Big Mac. No, it's not like that with Hardee's. It's like they start cooking it as you're telling us.
Yeah.
As we're putting it in the system. So, but it was crazy because I said, "Oh, you've never seen me working no fast food restaurant." Only because I didn't think I would have the ability or I don't know. I just because even looking at especially the drive-through part, I thought was super hard. It looked really like intricate, and so I didn't think I would be able to. So when I thought about working at a fast food restaurant, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to. I'm not cleaning nobody's table or mopping or whatever. I had to do that too, but I ended up working like the dining room area and the drive-through area, and it was just like, well, you got to make your money, so it is what it is. So when I go through, when I go to a fast food restaurant, because you deal with a lot of ignorant people. I try to be super nice because I remember how that is. And recently I was telling my father, like, it's hard working at a drive. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. It's like you just do what you can do. So it's like I remember how it is. Just like I remember how it is like working like when I started college my freshman year, I had two jobs. I had a job here in Baltimore, and then I had a job over at UMES. Like when I became a sophomore, I was an RA, but I was still working here when I would come home at Staples. So I know what it is to work in like retail. I know you stand on your feet all day, and then people, you got some ignorant people, you got some really nice people. So it's like I try to keep that in mind. Like when we go to the store, it's like little things. Like my dad, if he decides he doesn't want something, like he doesn't want coffee, and we're like in the juice aisle, he wants to just put it back there. I'm like, no, you're going to either give it to the cashier up front or put it back where you got it from because people don't want to be going through each time like, oh my gosh, why are they putting it, because I remember that working at Staples. Like I'll be in like the food aisle and I see like a thing of tape or pens and I'm just like, really, you couldn't just walk 2 feet over and put it back. So I remember things of that nature. So
Yeah.
I am thankful for that, like just having the understanding where some people may be coming from. So like when I go to places, I try to be like super nice because it's like I get it. Standing on your feet all day, you're probably tired. Not to necessarily say you don't like your job, but it's like you've been here all day. You probably were just asked to stay over longer because somebody didn't come in, or you're waiting for someone to come in because they're running late, or your manager's pissing you off, or whatever the case may be. So it's like I try to keep all that in mind and just do my part as the customer, or whatever. So when I drive on the drive-through, even if because there's some people I promise you, it's like they seem like they have an attitude, but I still keep it nice and friendly. I don't return that, and it's like it actually changes their mood because it's like, oh my gosh, you're really sweet. You know, it's like because I get it, especially in a fast food restaurant. It's like I get it. I know how it is. It's like you tired. You stand at this window, you deal with ignorant customers, or it's cold and you're at the window, or it's super hot. It's like, I
Yeah.
totally get it. So,
So it sounds like you've taken those experiences that maybe you didn't think you would have ever done, and
oh
you
yeah,
use them even nowadays as you're interacting with people every day out in the world.
like it's crazy because I think I've told you at one point I am painfully shy,
Mm.
and so the fact that I was an RA is just like I do things that I feel will help me. So like being painfully shy, being in college, I needed to do something and I needed to work. So I became an RA because it's like, okay, this is going to force me to get to know people.
Yeah.
And this will also help me pay for things. And it's just a type of employment. And I live here, so it's pretty cool. Some of the characteristics of that did, and I don't know where it came from. Like, I would sing everyone's name that I knew. Like, I would sing your name every time you come in. Like, I would make an announcement for everybody that came in that I knew. And it's just like, some people, they didn't understand it, but they grew to like it. And then they felt some type of way if I didn't do it, which was weird.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So what did you think life would be like when you would be 30? Maybe like what did you think when you were 15, for example? What did you think you'd be doing in your 30s?
actually, like some people, like, they have that idea of, like, this is what I want to be or where I want to be. I didn't have, like, any set idea.
Hmm.
I didn't like. It was just. I guess because for the longest time, I just thought eye doctor. I don't know why. I just thought eye doctor, and then once that idea left me, I didn't have anything. It was just to see where the world takes you, so to speak. Like I don't know. So when I went to college, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this, and I do like all things like entertainment and arts and things of that nature. So I just kind of went that. Like, I like theater. I like being a part of that. I like the behind the scenes more so than in front. Like, a lot of people, they got to be in front of the camera. They got to be on stage. I feel like all the action, and it is really, all the action is happening in the back. And I want to be a part of that. So it's like, I knew that much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But as far as what particularly, no, I didn't have like a set thing. Like my sister, she knew she wanted to do something in law. My brother, he knew he wanted to do something in law. Me, it's like, no, I don't know. I just know I just want to do something like just cool, whatever. But nothing, I didn't have like a real set thing. Like I didn't say, oh, I want to be a singer. Oh, I want to be in plays or be a pianist for an orchestra or whatever. Like I didn't have any like real set idea of what I wanted to do. I guess I don't know why. It's like as a kid, we always just talked about kids. Me and my best friend would just always talk about how many kids we have and things in that nature. I think maybe at one point daycare, but then as I got older, I was like, nah, because I don't like everybody's kids. I don't. I like kids that I know. I don't like everybody's kids. So.
Is there anything that you would tell yourself at 15, 16 years old? Like, if you could give yourself advice now, like, what would you tell your younger self?
I would probably just go a completely different route. I would probably tell myself to try culinary school because of how I am now. I would probably also try to tell myself to like get my license sooner than later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like want to go and pursue like piano more so because that is like my favorite instrument. So it's like
keep practicing.
Yeah, keep practicing, and definitely stay in writing. But still probably look into culinary works because it's like because I'm really curious to know what would have happened if I did that. So yeah, but when I say that, I think about stuff like that. I also think about if I hadn't taken the steps that I've taken, I wouldn't know the people that I know. Like I know you, and it's awesome. So it's like I wouldn't have met you
Right.
if I didn't go to UMS.
Right,
Like
right,
I
right.
wouldn't know the people that I know at work. Like I have gained close relationships to a couple people at work. I wouldn't know that if I didn't go there.
Right.
So it's like I try to look at it on the bright side, or like I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't know my best friend, but I wouldn't know other people. Like I wouldn't know. You know, I just look at it that way. Like if I didn't do this, I wouldn't have met this person.
Right.
And so I don't know how my life would be if I hadn't met that person. So I like, cause I look at friendships as like a big thing for me. So it's like
Yeah.
I am happy on one hand that I did go the way I went, cause I wouldn't have, and I probably wouldn't have learned stuff like I know now. Like UMS taught me a lot. Like college, of course, teaches you a lot about independence, but it taught me a lot about just learning and accepting other people. Like I always thought I was somewhat open minded, but I didn't realize I was, somewhat sheltered. But I didn't realize how sheltered I was.
Mm.
So I went off to college, and it was just like there's a whole new world out here that I know nothing, absolutely nothing about. So it was great, and I always pride myself with the people I surrounded myself with, at least during the college life, because all of my friends, you included, super smart. Only person in English, or me and you were the only people in English, and everybody else were like, well, you're super smart anyway, but everybody else was like all science and math. I'm like, I don't know how that happened for me, but it was just like, but I always pride myself on the people I surround myself with, because I feel like these people, at least, I always say people are here. Some people come in your life for a moment or a time or whatever. I feel like these people were here for a reason. Like they kept me. It's like they knew how I was. They knew where I was coming from, because the people that I was around, they weren't sheltered,
Right.
but they knew I was. So it's like anything I even thought about doing, they would like advise me otherwise. It was like these were my advisors. Like, no, you're not going to do that, Gigi, because of this, that, and the third. Like, this is what happens. Like, oh, we can go here. You'll be cool. We'll be with you. It's fine. You're good. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like my friends weren't ignorant, like loose people. Like they were really cool. They all came from pretty, even like some of them they were raised in single homes, but it's like they all came from pretty decent backgrounds. Very smart, good head on their shoulder. So it was like these are the type of people I surrounded myself with, and they kind of like also helped guide me, like taught me, like, okay, you can't think this way all the time,
Right.
but we understand why you think this way, but you need to start really opening your mind to other things. Like it's not just this.
Yeah.
So I always like, and that's like one big thing I pride myself in, because you can never be too careful when you're picking your friends. Like before I actually started Yummy Yes, I was in Pace, and those friends were like crap. Like they were the worst. Like they were actually, like looking back, they were like awful friends, and I didn't really realize that until I started changing out from them, and I met new people, and they actually embraced me, and it was cool. But then I saw what kind of people those other friends that I was sleeping with, because they went and started saying rumors about me, because the people that were embracing me happened to be lesbians. But that didn't mean I was one. It's just they were embracing me because they just thought I was cool, and it's just like it is what it is. So it just kind of made me see, like, really see what type of people kind of like pick out the type of people you want to be with and you don't want to be with. So like by the time I went to college and I was meeting all these people, it was cool. You saw I was hanging with the same people every day. Every day. Not just because the college was small. I mean, we still had a lot of people going there, but like these were my people. Like they know me, they knew how I was, I knew how they were. And when push come to shove, we would look out for each other. But everyone had like a good head on their shoulders. They were coming from a good place. And so that's who I surrounded myself with. Lesbian and straight. Or both. Whatever.
So it sounds like you wouldn't really change anything because you appreciate the experiences you got, from high school through college and the people you were able to meet. What about at 22, 23 years old, or around graduation and stuff like that from college? Is there any advice you would have given yourself that you in your 30s would give yourself then at that point of
I would have
graduation?
said stay in school and get your graduate and get your doctorate.
Mm.
I would have definitely done that. Like I was talking to you before. One of the cool things about my job is that they offer like schooling, and for the most part, they pay for it.
Right.
So I plan on getting my master's in communications, And so, and I guess on one hand, it does kind of work out because at least I wouldn't have to pay for it because I'm still paying off for student loans anyway, like everybody.
Yeah.
But so I guess on one hand, it does kind of work out that maybe I did kind of wait because now I'm going to be going to a school online at least, but they'll be paying for everything and I wouldn't necessarily have to. But I think at the time though, because it was still in my head with the schooling and how everything was set up, probably stay in my master's, get my doctorate. Yeah. And probably like went back, took French again, really focused, and also got my master's in French because that is my family's native language. So it's like that would have been cool to pick up that because even now, like I was talking to you about music, and I keep telling myself I'm going to do this. I just need to get around to doing it, and I'll probably need your motivation. But like speaking of music, I don't know how I got into it, but I guess I was on like YouTube one day and I was just looking around. I came across this one guy, Tae Young, and I listened to some of his music. He's Korean. He's South Korean. And so I was listening to his music. Then I did some more stuff, and I saw he was actually coming from a band, Big Bang. They are a South Korean boy band. They are awesome.
It's a pop band.
Right. So it's Korean. So I'm blasting that in my car. But it's like good to know. Like I know what the song is about, but it's good to like sing along or just know the language. And then from that, I'm picking up other Korean pop stars like 21 and CL and all these other artists, Korean artists. And it's like I want to know. And as I was doing that, because I was before that, I was just doing Spanish. I was doing like Cubano, reggaeton Cubano songs, like a lot of Spanish reggae or just things of that. But I don't really know Spanish that well. I took a little bit of it, but I don't know it that well. But I love that music. And I was doing that. Then I came across the Korean music, and I was doing that, the K-pop music. And then I thought about it. I was like, I'm listening to all this music, yet I'm not listening to French music. So I started looking up French artists, like pop artists, or like art, and I came across a whole bunch. Yes, and my mom is actually singing along to this because it's her language, and it's just like I get it now. So my mom is kind of cool, but she likes the French side of it, not the English side, and it's crazy. Even just playing certain songs in my car, especially if it's like French or whatever, it's. Like my mom, she drives me crazy, like any mom does for their child. She gets on my nerves, but sometimes she has these cool moments, and it's like we're sitting in this car playing this music, and it was French, but she was like, "He's Haitian." Like, how the heck you pick that up? But it's like the dialect and everything is different. He's not coming from France. He's Haitian. But she loves the music, and my dad loves the music, and it's like, so that's really cool. So it's just like, I want to get back into learning more French and also learning Korean and going back to learning Spanish. I was doing that at one point in high school, but what you don't ever want to do, that's another thing, like gospel and classical music, you don't want to do both at the same time. You don't want to be learning the romantic languages at the same time. That is your French, Italian, and Spanish because they're all related. Everything is so closely related. So you can start counting your numbers in French and you end up in Spanish. So it's like you want to be careful with that. But I want to learn. That was always one of my things. I want to learn the 3 romantic languages, but I also want to learn Korean because I'm doing it. I also like to go visit South Korea. So. Yeah, I'm totally like just trying to get that ball rolling. But that language
with some of those things. You majored in French. You got your master's in French. You said. Continue to work on some of those other things.
Yeah. I might still do that.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people who are like currently making career decisions, like young people? Do you have any advice to give them, like say kids in high school or something like that? Would you have any advice about making career decisions?
Definitely go to college. At least get your bachelor's. You wanna? I mean, I would say go for what you want, but if you're not sure and you just want to like have something on hand, go for something that's on demand. That's always in demand. So like. You're always going to need computer technicians. You're always going to need or even like cars. You're going to need someone to fix a car or whatever. Like, you're something that is always going to be in demand. Like go into medicine, go into the sciences. Like you're always, at least if you're not sure of anything, go with something that you know is always going to be in demand. So that if anything, if that's not your first choice, that's your plan B. So if your first choice is, oh, I want to go into being like a swimmer, a professional swimmer or whatever, do that, but then have something on the back end. Because, you know, just in case that doesn't work out, either you injure yourself or you've gone as far as you wanted to go. At least you have something to fall back on. Always have a plan B. Always have something to fall back on. It's like the music industry. You see some of these people in the music industry now, it's like you can be here today and gone today in the music industry. So now you see a lot of people who are making strategic moves. Like, okay, I'm going to go and do this singing thing. But once and especially if you do make it, like a lot of these big name artists, they make it. They go into the fashion. They open companies. They open stores, or they do, or you know, they do things of that nature. So like, if I don't want to do this anymore, I still have this.
Yeah, for longevity.
Yeah,
Something for the long run,
right. Not something just for now. Like you want something, or just to, again, just to have a safety net, because you never know with this time, this economy, this life, and whatever's happening. So you just want to have a safety net. Also, I strongly suggest that you pick up another language. It doesn't have to be Spanish, even though that's becoming the second largest common language in the U.S. You want to be at least bilingual, if not trilingual. You want to be able to speak something other than English. That's another thing I was thinking about, because I also want to learn sign language. You want to learn sign language. So, and I just realized that Britt can probably teach it. But,
I know a little bit from my childhood.
That's another thing I strongly suggest, is that you learn another language. It doesn't have to be. It can be Spanish. It can be French or Italian, or something like completely like German. You know, or Chinese.
Yeah, we live in a global economy.
Yeah,
So that's great advice to young people. And you know, it sounds like you're saying be diverse.
And that can also take you to some places too. Like if you say you can speak Chinese, a company might send you to China to do something, or just for you, or you can teach it in school to become a professor that way, or like you can go places now if you can say you speak more than just one language, like, and I mean fluent, not like I know how to say hi, bye, and go. No, you need to be fluent, but I strongly suggest that you learn another language. It's just one. Just learn something else.
Like
really amazed.
Yeah, that's great advice. Actually, I like that advice. Okay, so switch a little bit. This is kind of our last section.
Okay.
Just shift gears one more time.
Okay.
What do you think makes you motivates you to get up every day and like keep going?
I guess I look at it as like it could be worse. Like I always try to look at it like if something bad's happening, I was like, well, it could be this. Like I'm very lucky to, like I say, have the parents that I have. You know, you have some kids who are told to leave at 18. It doesn't mean that they have a place or whatever, but their parents just tell them to get out or whatever. It's like I'm lucky to have parents. I'm lucky to be raised in a two-parent home too. Even though nowadays it really doesn't matter, as long as you just have that strong foundation at home. It can be from just the one parent. It can be from the mother, from the father. You know, you have a lot of well-mannered, well-rounded children who are raised in a one-parent home, and that's totally fine. Right.
Terribly mannered children
who are raised in two-parent homes.
That's right.
Like, so it really doesn't matter at this point. But, you know, in my case, I was just happy to be raised with my parents and the way they raised us, and they just kind of kept us. Maybe they kept us a little too much from the outside world, a little bit, but, you know, they did the best they could from what they knew, too. So, because they both come from extremely different backgrounds. So it's like, you know, they just did the best what they knew. So it was just like, I'm grateful for that. And just, I guess not just being like, it could have been worse. Like, you see people now, it's just totally well, just off. So it's like, I just kind of look at it like that. I look at it on the bright side. Like, I had my parents, the people that I were raised, like, as a kid, I was raised around a lot of adults for the most part. Like, my godmother and church. My godmother was a nun. Like, she was the Sister of Mercy. Father was Eucharistic minister for a long time. So as I got older, I became an altar server, and I became a Eucharistic minister, which basically is administering the body and blood to the congregation. So It's just like I was just born in that environment, like because you know, especially Caribbeans, very religious people. So born in the church, lived in the church, and just did school. Like actually, thinking about it now, there was a time where like my classmates back in middle school thought I was going to be a nun because that's all I spoke about. Because that's all I knew. It's just church. Like go to school on the weekends. You had like because I was in a youth group at my church, so it's like we did things with the youth group, and we had church. You had Sunday school. It was like it was school, church, family. So family, school, church. You know, whatever. But that's all I did for like a good period of my life. That's all I did. So, and on one hand, I'm happy that that is how it was, you know, because it gave me a sense of, it's actually somewhat a sense of stability. It's like, you know, and just knowing that there's something bigger out there too. So,
So you have a lot of things that motivate you. Maybe your foundation in religion is one of those things.
yeah.
But it also sounds like you have a deep appreciation for and are grateful for the life that you have and the circumstances into which you were born.
Yeah,
So
because like I said, my parents, like we weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth.
Right.
Like I found out when I was in college that I was one of those families that were adopted for Christmas. I didn't know that.
yeah,
I just thought those were like I didn't know. I just always looked at us as like middle class. We weren't even considered middle class. Like we were practically poor, I guess. But it's like our church kind of helped us out, and my mom did what she could, and my dad worked a lot. There was a period of time where he had 3 jobs, and this guy is like illiterate. So it's like he made it work with the help of people at our church. They you know, helps us out. But it was just like that was like my motivation. It's just like just working. Like I guess watching my parents, it's just like just working and just being like, because they're not always going to be there. So it's like you want to be able to just be independent and just not be lazy. Like that was just the biggest thing. Like you're not going to be lazy. Like this is not going to work. Like we are like the least laziest people. Like even though some people, I feel like I'm not being so lazy today because I'm not doing anything, but it's like I do a lot. So that's why I love the weekend because like when I say I don't really do anything on the weekend because it's like I'm doing everything during the week.
yeah,
So it's like a weekend. I really don't need to do anything. Like I'm also a homebody. Like I can go out, but I'm also a homebody. Like I'm fine being at home. I'm fine chilling. Like this right now is fine, especially since we're in the shade. I'm like totally fine. So it's like this is fine for me. But it's like my motivation is. I guess they are our motivation. Like we didn't want to be struggling. We didn't want to be like they always pointed out. Like you see those kids and not going in there smoking and dealing drugs, because we lived around a lot of like drug addicts and things. Like the neighborhood's gotten better since. You know, it's gotten a lot better. But it's like they made sure we did not fall in that crowd. It's like you don't want to be that person constantly, and you still see it now. You see them on the corner like all day long. It's like, oh my gosh, I need you to go somewhere. Like there's so much more than like to stand in a corner waiting for your next hit.
yeah,
Or whatever, or just these people who are not really poor, panhandlers walking up and down the street, or waiting for you to park in line, ask you for money in front. Like, no, we don't do that. It's like somebody, you get a job, you keep that job, you keep it moving. It's like don't be that person.
right.
So that they were our motivation. It's like you don't want to be that person. It's like because look at them. It's like they didn't even know English. So they came over here and they worked their butts off and they raised us to work our butts off, and it's like that's what. So yeah, they're actually a motivation. They drove us nuts, but it was some type of meaning to their weird chaos. I don't know, but yeah, they're a motivation. Then I guess you would say definitely as far as just understanding how the world works, and not. My dad is huge on like don't trust anybody. He's so huge on that. Like
Be careful who you trust. Yeah.
yeah, all the time. Like it's like don't trust anybody but your family. Unfortunately, with Americans, that when you tell an American person that, it's like, maybe not so much. But with our family, it's like no, because we and you can be sensitive, and you piss me off. But the minute somebody, and it's like that as us being friends, like we can be fighting, but if someone outside this, because you know where it's coming from. So if someone outside just coming and start messing with you, I don't care what we find about. We handling that first because you know where I'm coming from. If I'm mad at you and you're mad at me, you know where that's coming from. There's no hate there. It's just I may be upset with you, but there's no hate there. But someone coming outside of that, oh no, we are going to handle that, and then we'll get back to our issue. That is actually how I roll. It's like I don't, and so when I see certain things, on TV in real life. Like, I don't understand how you can operate like how you call somebody your friend and then you do that crap behind their back. Like, no, we're friends. We may be fighting, but we'll get over it. I'm not letting somebody come at you though, because that's just not how I roll. Like, you still my girl. Like, we go back too far for letting some crap. Oh no, I'm not about that life. No, and that goes for, and that's extended to your family. I might not know your family, but they're your family. So it's like they coming after you. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's just what I know, because in a way that's kind of like how we're raised. It's like you protect the people you care about.
Absolutely.
And as growing up, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be your blood relative,
Right.
but they can be someone you're very close to.
Yeah.
I'm saying like my bestie. So it's like, and my godchildren, they get on my nerves, but I love them to death.
Yeah.
You
Of
do
course.
anything to them, I come after you.
Yeah.
Like and it's like I was like that in college, which kind of messed me up in a way, because it's like I was like this motherly type of person,
Mhm.
but it's like I couldn't help it, because it's just like that's kind of like how I am. Like my mom's like that. Like, you come after one of our people, I'm coming after you. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. It's just how I am.
So family also, protecting family is also important, and one of the
Yes.
things that, motivates you to do well.
Yeah.
Keep going. Okay. How do you balance your career, everything you have to do for work, and then your life outside of that? Like, how do you make sure you have a balance?
Well, no, I don't. Yeah, because there was a time, like I said, I would work all the time, like overtime, whatever. But now it's like, no, I need a mental day. So like this past Wednesday, I took a mental day. I just took off. Like, wait a minute, need to fall back, breathe a minute. So I just took a day off. So it's like I'm learning how to balance that, because it's like work, for the most part, it's always going to be there, in a sense where you're always going to be able to find some job. It might not be the job you want, but some type of work is always going to be there. But you're not, and your health is important. So it's like you're no good to. I mean, and I started learning that like years back, and it's like it kind of sounds harsh, but it's like you are no good to me if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not being good to yourself. So it's like you're not helping me out. So it's like, I'm no good to my family. I'm no good to my friends. I'm not even no good to the work that I do. And for the members that I'm trying to help out, if I'm not in sane, sound mind. So I need to learn that sometimes you just fall back and just take a break. You don't have to go anywhere. Just, you don't have to go to work. So, like, I didn't go to work. Just stayed at home and just hung out and just chilled.
Are there any other areas of your life where you feel like you need more balance? Like, I should be doing more of this because this will help me have more of a balance?
Well, we always went back and forth with exercising. So that's also kind of like, even though it's so tiring, it also helps clear my mind, because it's like I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm just thinking about my technique and just working the muscles I need to work to get rid of the fat.
Yeah.
So it's but it also like just clears my mind. It's like I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm not thinking of work. I'm not thinking about school. I'm not thinking about driving. Nothing else. It's just I'm here right now. This is what I'm doing, and I'm just in the zone. So it's like that. It's actually helping me balance, because it's like kind of separating too. So like I'll go to work and I'm in the work zone, but then after work I go to the gym, and it's like, so I'm clearing my mind, getting myself ready, and then I'm going home and I'm dealing with whatever's happening.
Right. Okay.
So it's like it kind of breaks that chain, which is great, instead of just going from work to home and not really having that kind of like break in between to kind of like mentally prepare yourself, because you don't know what's going on now. Like, granted, I don't have any small kids in my house. It's just a bunch of adults. But again, you never know. Like, your mom might need to go to doctors or the hospital all of a sudden because she's having an allergic reaction, which happened to me. And then it happened to my dad. And so it's like, you never know what's going to happen. So at least you kind of have that like break in between to kind of like, okay, you're off work, we're exercising, we're in that flow now. So kind of like just remove yourself from the office, So that helps. And music. Ton of music. It's like I live and breathe it. And Power, that comes on tonight at 9.
Oh yeah, that does. Oh yeah, that's on Sundays now.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So things you enjoy, like certain TV shows. I feel you. Like everyone. We all got our things we need to watch.
Yes, my time. I'm quick to see things in other people than I am to see in myself. So, like this other coworker, Tanish, she is a very strong-willed, very smart, intelligent, extremely knowledgeable in everything. Like her and another woman named Michelle. If I had the power to, I would place him in directing. One being a director or even being a manager, I would place them in that field because they are extremely knowledgeable and they are professional. And what I'm working in now, it's like, unfortunately, and like I had this conversation with you before, I worked for a man and it's completely different than working for a woman. I feel like in this case, a lot of them, they're working with their feelings, and this is not a feeling based industry. You like I like this is how I look at it. Like the entertainment industry, a lot of it on feeling, and that's fine. It's art, whatever. But this is corporate. And so this should just be professional. It shouldn't be based on, oh, I feel some type of way about Brittany because she didn't bring me a cheesecake, but she brought Gigi a cheesecake. No, I'm not. No, it has nothing to do with that. Let's just get the work done. And I feel like these two women they're very knowledgeable. They've been in this department for at least 9 or more years. They're very well rounded. They know the guidelines of CMS. They know their job plus other jobs because they've done everything else in the whole as far as reconciliation goes. They even know some things on the claim side. Like they're very knowledgeable, very strong willed, intelligent people, and I feel like if I could, I would put them in the management role because they would keep it professional. They would keep us. They would bring us to where we need to be. Because right now, it's like we're kind of all over the place.
Okay, so maybe to kind of you see different traits in people that you think will be helpful to improving where you are, and those people might be in a better position to lead or put you guys in a better position. Okay, makes sense. If you can make a significant contribution to the world in general, what might that be?
You have to give me an idea.
Well, say we're all leaving a legacy, hopefully at some point, and we all think we are. What would you want to have left behind when you're not here? Or at the end of it all, it's all said and done.
I don't know. I guess that like the people that I've met are known either in passing or in life. Like they just took something from me as far as like faith and hope and just always sometimes taking yourself out of your own shoes and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Because I feel like in a lot of cases people just think about their feelings about a situation, how they would react. It's like you need to take yourself out of that element, put yourself in there and try to think of a better solution that way. Like I would want to be like the person to assist. Like I like to think that I'm a problem solver or try to be. Like, actually going back now, I also thought about being a psychologist because I'm always, or a therapist, because I'm always like wanting to help people sort out their issues, their problems, whatever, give them like sound advice. And so, any advice that I've given to anybody, I would hope that would help, and they would remember, and maybe even pass on to somebody else in a sense. And like as far as I guess my godchildren, for the most part, I would want them to remember like their godmother was loving and crazy, but funny and hardworking, and always like push them to like you want to work, you want to make your own money, you don't want to constantly be asking people for money. Like get your job, make your money, go to school, stay in school, get that education. No one can never take that away from you. So if I would want them to remember that about me, if anything else, and just in general, anybody just know that I was just try. And I think another thing with people, like I learned that at work is like they always say like you're always giving, you're just so nice to everybody, and you do it's like I like to give people chances. It's like I put you on a clean slate until you cross me. Then it's like, okay. Because if I've given you no reason to cross me, then there's no reason you should be. If I've given you no reason to lie to me or whatever. So I want people to think of me that way. Like, she was the person that, like, would give you a clean slate until you did something. Like, she had, even if you came and told me something bad about somebody else, I'm going to consider what you're saying, obviously, because I know you and I trust you. But I'm not just going to go solely with that. I need to, and that's another thing I would want people to, like, I guess, take away from me is, like, learn from your own experience. Like, consider what your friend is telling you about somebody else, but still give them a chance on your own, because their experience with that person may be completely different. Like, you can tell me, oh, this person is this, that, and the third. But then my experience is way different, and we end up being like best friends.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not going to go solely on your thought. I'm going to experience it from myself.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's like, so it's only fair.
Yeah.
So
taking people for who they are to you, just not necessarily their relationships with other people, and giving people opportunities to redeem themselves or to have a fresh start about who they are in your interactions with them. Okay, that's very nice. So, all right, I've got one more question. Well, not even a question, because it's pretty much it. Do you have any, like, in one sentence?
I'll try.
Right? No, just in general. In one sentence, what would you want, like, your final words to be today?
Oh gosh.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. No. Final words is just, I guess, to just try to stay focused, and whoever is your motivator, to just keep them close. Take heed to what they're saying. Pick up another language. I cannot stress that enough. Just for kicks and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there's a lot going on in this world with the terrorism and anything, don't let that stop you. Like, just go do what you do. Live your life. It is extremely too short. It is taken quickly. Just live your life. Don't go crazy, but live your life. Like, do you, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't. It's just ridiculous. They can't, but you can.
Okay. All right. I guess that's it.
Yes.
Thank you, Gigi.
You're so welcome, Brett.